If you're new, my name is Cassandra and today we're sitting down just to go over my seed haul. I only ordered from 2 companies this year, mainly because I have a lot of older seeds that I'm looking to make my way through this year. A lot of packets that only have like a handful of seeds in them, and this is the year I just kind of want to clear out a ton of older stuff. Hopefully germination is okay on those. We can kind of clear things out and start fresh. And then next year, my seed haul will probably be a lot bigger than what we went with this year. These that I ordered from this year were Baker's Creek and M.I. Gardner. I tend to get whatever I can from M.I. Gardner because they are cheaper seed packets. They're $2 a packet. That's cheaper than what I can get in any box store, Walmart, Menards, anything like that, where I would go in and buy seed packets upon occasion. So I really like it there. And then I really like either Baker's Creek or Johnny's seeds for a little bit more fun seeds, some things that are just a little bit different, a little bit quirky, trying new things, because I like to try some new things in the garden every single year just to keep it fresh and keep it interesting. It keeps preservation projects fun. You get a couple different varieties of just unique different things up on the shelf. Being said, let's start with Baker's Creek because it is a smaller haul. The very first thing I ordered were these Sugar Rush peaches. I've seen these all over YouTube and Instagram over the last handful of years. I didn't really think it was for me because I say we, but my family are not huge pepper fans. We're not huge spicy fans. My husband loves hot sauce, but that's kind of really it. But these Sugar Rush peach peppers looked really good. I think they would make a really fun hot sauce for my husband specifically, and I think it would be really fun to just like dehydrate them, kind of put them in a spice blender and spice them up, and put these as like a finishing salt with a little bit of freeze-dried cilantro on top of tacos or enchiladas or quesadillas, things like that. So I have a couple different preservation projects in mind that I could use for these. We're gonna see how these go. Peppers don't do really well for me. They never really have. I've had one really awesome pepper year. I did the exact same things last year to try to replicate that, and it just didn't work out for me. I live in zone 4B, so peppers really don't like to get below 55 degrees, and we can have days in the middle of summer, like nights in the middle of summer, that get below 55 degrees and kind of stunts our peppers. So it's kind of a hit or a miss, but either way, I'm gonna try these, and I'm really excited about these. 2 different varieties of carrots. One of them are these I got 2 different types of carrots. The first one are the St. Valerie carrots. It says it's a very old French variety, handsome, large, bright red and orange, 10 to 12 inch roots, smooth, sweet, tender, and it is a favorite. The description is what got me. Very excited about these. We're gonna see how these go over. Last year was the best carrot year I've ever had. We put in a couple raised beds. The carrots did so well in the raised beds, so I'm very excited to try a couple different more varieties this year, get a little bit more knowledge, figure out what works for us, and I'm hoping we can grow enough of these to keep fresh and store. I canned all of my carrots last year and put them in different freezer meals or meals in a jar type things, so I'm hoping this year I have enough that I can keep fresh and we can enjoy them through the winter. In India, heat tolerant, extremely rich in antioxidants, perfect for hot summers, which we have had some hotter summers here recently. Last summer I think was one of the hottest we've had in recent years. Most days were like in the 90s, and in northern Wisconsin that's kind of crazy for us to get into 90s and low hundreds on like a regular basis. Better than other carrots in extreme heat, so I just thought I would give it a go. And it's a purple carrot. We grew some of those last year. The kids really liked them, so I thought it would just be fun to do that this year. We're gonna give these a go. The very last thing I ordered for veggies were these old Homestead beans. These got me. I love green beans. Green beans are one of our favorite varieties here. The last 2 years I've had a really not an abundant green bean harvest. We had enough to eat fresh, maybe to make a handful of dilly beans or something like that, but not enough to really preserve and get us through the winter and just have green beans. We've done a lot of mixed veggies over the last year with like a handful of green beans thrown into them. So I wanted to try some different varieties this year and hopefully get a lot better of a harvest. But these are Kentucky Wonder. It's a Homestead heirloom for over 150 years, very early. It's a pole type, which I was really excited about because a lot of pole beans are more dry beans, and we have only ever grown bush beans because we don't like a lot of dry beans. It's not something we like here, so we don't grow them. Really, pole beans are more prolific than a bush bean because you get that vertical growth, you get that vertical space, and you just get more for a smaller foot area. So I wanted to get these a go this year. If they do really well, I will get a lot more of these, and we'll see how that goes. I'm really excited to experiment with those. We really want to do some of the Sisters 3 planting method this year. We've been talking about doing it for the last couple of years. We've just never done it. I'm hoping that this year is the year we get to do just like a small patch of it and see how it goes. Some zinnia packets. These are going to go in my girls' Easter baskets this year. They loved the zinnias that we planted last year. We put in a big flower patch and they had some zinnia seeds in some of the like wildflower packets that we put in the flower patch, and the zinnias were their favorite. So I got a pink variety for one daughter because her favorite were the pink ones, and then I got this peppermint stick variety for my oldest daughter because she really liked like the oranges and the reds and things like that in the zinnias. So these are just things that are going to go in their Easter baskets. They are each putting in their own raised beds this year, and I know that they'll be very excited to put zinnias in their raised beds. So this was me just kind of planning and thinking ahead for Easter time. My MI Gardener order was much bigger. We got quite a few packets here. I'm just gonna start pulling them out in no particular order, just how they were packaged in shipping, and we're going to go through these. A lot of things I will buy in bulk seeds from my local Amish shop. They have really great seeds. I can buy them in bulk, like over 100 or 250 seeds for like $2 or $1.50, $1.65, just depending on what variety I'm buying. For things that I am planning to plant like in bulk, like green beans or snap peas, I tend to just wait and get those from my local Amish shop because I can get a crazy amount of seeds that'll last me like 2 years for $1 or $2, which is great. That's why you're not going to see any of those in here. But I do get some fun different varieties of like beans or snap peas that I want to try in these smaller packets. But the first thing I wanted to change that I did last year, in all of my years of gardening, I have about 5 years experience. I've always grown a lot of like beefsteak tomatoes, a lot of indeterminate type of tomatoes, and last year I changed that almost 100%. I grew almost strictly paste tomatoes and determinate type of tomatoes, and I completely underestimated the difference in the two, specifically versus determinate versus indeterminate. Indeterminate tomatoes or indeterminate plants are things that like they don't get to a certain size. They will just keep growing and growing and growing, and they will just keep producing fruit basically until the plant dies. A determinate type of tomato is one that only gets to a certain size. The fruit itself only gets to a certain size, and they kind of only put off a certain amount of fruit, and once it hits that limit, the plant's done and it's just kind of over with, even if the plant's not dead yet. I had the worst tomato year I've ever had because I underestimated how different those things truly were going to be. I put in right around 50 to 60 plants. It did not get us through an entire year, so I am kind of going back to my old ways because the year prior I had the best tomato harvest I've ever had. I don't know why I decided to go, what I did this year worked so well, so let me do the complete opposite and try something different. But we live and learn. So this year I am going to go back to doing some fun like juice tomatoes, beef steaks, really big heirloom type of tomatoes, and you're not going to see any Romas or Amish paste or anything like that in here because I get those as starts from that same Amish shop. You can get 4 starts for like $1, $1.20. They're really great. We go there every year, and I will buy a ton of starts there, and if I don't have to start them myself and take care of them for weeks and weeks and weeks, I can just go to the Amish shop and buy them for $1. It's well worth it to me. The starts are always great there. We have great success with them. They're always super healthy, and if I can support something locally and keep my cash in the community, those are all great things. It takes things off my plate. My cash gets to go to a local family and it stays local. I love that. There's nothing wrong with supporting something local and not doing it yourself. We don't always have to do everything. Squash I will get as starts, my pumpkins I'll get as starts, most of my cucumbers, my pickling cucumbers, things like that I just get from starts because it takes a lot of things off of my plate that I don't have to start myself. So I want to mention that way when I'm talking about, well, I also really like these type of tomatoes, but I'm gonna get them from the Amish shop. You'll see that. So the first thing I got was a pink Berkeley tie-dye. We tend to lean towards less acidic tomatoes, things that are more like orange or yellow. Those tend to be less acidic than a big bright red one. So you'll see that theme throughout here. But this is, once again, an indeterminate type of tomato. It's a delicious heirloom variety that combines exquisite flavor with stunning aesthetics, which is true. It's very pretty. It's a large beefsteak-like fruit, rich, well-balanced flavor with a slightly tart undertone, making it a gourmet delight for salads, sandwiches, and slicing, which is one of our most common uses for tomatoes. So you're gonna see that pattern throughout here. Things that are really great for slicing, putting on top of salads, on sandwiches, because in the summertime when things are busy, my husband is a blue-collar worker. A lot of times in the summer he's on the road for like weeks or even months at a time. Last summer my husband was in Tennessee for like 8 weeks, 9 weeks throughout the summer. So the garden and all the things kind of lands on myself and the kids, which is totally fine. But that means a lot of times we're eating a lot of like grilled cheese sandwiches with some fresh tomatoes, or ham cheese tomato sandwiches. I have one child in particular who could eat a salad every day of her life during the summertime. So lots of tomatoes go down in the summer, plus burgers, grilling, all of the things. It's delicious. Also got this hillbilly tomato. You can see it is a gorgeous yellowy type tomato. Once again, it's an indeterminate 1 to 3 pound fruits. Delicious on sandwiches and burgers. Very delicious. I'm very excited about these. I'm gonna kind of shoot through these pretty quick because they're all very similar. I also got this Brandywine pink. Same thing, indeterminate. Great BLTs for tomato soups, for pasta sauces, burgers. It does say it has really vigorous vines and it requires some intense caging or some intense trellising. So I'm gonna keep that in mind when I actually plant it in the garden and make sure that I'm putting it up against my cattle panels that I have in there, and making sure that I'm really tying these up really well and keeping some airflow going in there. I always get these chocolate stripe ones. They are so delicious. Sometimes my Amish shop has these as starts and sometimes they do not. So I wanted to make sure I had them this year. So this is also an indeterminate. It's native to Peru, but it's a really dark, I mean, you can see it. It's like a purpley tomato almost. It does have stripes on it. It's really delicious. It's very sweet. It also has a really rich flavor without being super overpowering, and it's not necessarily super tart because it is very sweet, which is why it gets that chocolate tomato type of name. But very delicious. My kids love to eat these fresh off the vine, just like you would eat an apple. They're very delicious. The fruit don't get super massive. They're a pretty average sized tomato, but they are very good. I've had great experience with these, holding up to things like mites or mildew or any type of like pest or disease issues that you can get on tomatoes. These hold up pretty well for me and I really like these a lot. So these kind of always have a home in my garden for at least a couple of plants. Tomato is a new one for me. It's an indeterminate tomato. It says that it produces all season long, which is something I'm looking for. It says that it's a perfect slicer tomato. It produces a normal amount of fruit, but it will overcompensate in the way that it tastes. Once again, the description kind of got me, but it also says it's good for tomato sauces, soup, paste, homemade ketchups, things like that. So I thought this could be a little bit of like a larger paste tomato. We're gonna see how it goes. I can save these, put them in the freezer, mix them in with some of my paste tomatoes and kind of bulk up my sauces and things like that. So that's my plan for these. We're gonna see how it goes. I also got a Black Prince. Once again, indeterminate. It was voted the best tasting tomato in 2014 and 2015, so I had to give it a try. Delicious dried, makes unbelievable tomato paste. Once again, another larger tomato, but will work well doesn't have a high water content, can use it for pastes and soups and things like that, but it's also great for slicing, fresh eating, things like that. And I just kind of wanted to give it a go, so I ordered this one. I also got a gold medal tomato. You guessed it, it's an indeterminate. Once again, great for fresh eating, salads, sandwiches, a really versatile tomato. And I know this one will be one of my kids' favorites. My kids always tend to lean towards a yellowy, orangey tomato versus like a bright red one. That's why a lot of these tomatoes that we've talked about here are kind of, they're not like just a plain beefsteak or something like that. We've grown those in the past, but I've always gone back to just some really nice orangey, these Brandywine pink ones I got last year. They were really great. I'm just excited about a lot of these. So for a lot of my cherry tomatoes, I get those from the Amish shop. They sell moonbeams, which are a family favorite. We always grow those in the garden. They're a favorite. They're really low acidity. They're really easy to just pop in your mouth and eat right out of the garden as snacks. But I did get this blueberries tomato as a little cherry tomato. Once again, it's an indeterminate. It's sweet, slightly tangy, making them the perfect for fresh eating salad. 2 different types of basil. I got a mammoth basil, but I also got a lime basil. I'm very excited with the lime basil. I thought it would be fun to put in some of my salsas or some of like my enchilada sauces that I make and can up some of those like Mexican style dishes that we do for canning projects. I thought would be really fun. Mix it up a little bit, and then the rest of it I will dry. Maybe I can mix some of this lime basil in with some of our dried sugar rush peach pepper dust and a little bit of cilantro and use it as like a finishing salt or a finishing dust on top of some of those things we talked about earlier. I think it'll be really good. And then of course just some mammoth basil to plant in between some of my tomato plants and help keep pests and bugs out of there, but also get some like really big giant basil leaves. I did get a butterfly spinach. I have a lot of spinach left over from last year, seed packets wise, so this was a little bit of an oversight, but we are planning to plant the most spinach we've ever grown this coming summer. We do a lot of salads, a lot of fresh eating of spinach for sandwiches and things like that, but we also really like to eat it when we're eating venison throughout the fall and winter in soups or with venison steaks and things like that. This is really great in a cream gravy, and I really like growing spinach because I can freeze it, throw it crumbled up in pretty much any dish, and my kids eat spinach all the time and they have no idea. So I really like to do it that way. I always grow this Paris Island romaine. It works really well for me as long as I can keep it shaded. I usually will plant these behind my tomato plants so that they do get shaded. I did get a new one. It's a Freckles romaine lettuce. It says that it's great for containers, things like that. I figured it'd do well in the raised beds or even down in the garden. Simply cut and grow and have harvest all season long. I can plant it as soon as the soil is workable, which I really like. It's like an early thing that I can get in the ground and hopefully germinate and then have some fresh lettuce and things kind of earlier in the season, which is really nice. Same thing with the other romaine lettuce that we got. Really like that. I did get a fun pea. This is a spring blush pea. I thought the kids would really like these. We're gonna grow these in the permaculture orchard this year. My husband's gonna put some trellising up in there for me because the deer love to jump my fences into the garden. And the only thing they ever jump the fence for are for my green beans and my snap peas. They leave everything else alone. Every once in a while, they'll get a broccoli head or something. They'll go after some of my brassicas, but it's pretty rare. It's a bicolored green snap pea that blushes purple. Not only does this variety grow to produce beautiful fruit, but its flowers are purple and white, which I thought would be really pretty out in the orchard. So we're gonna give these a go and see how the kids like them. Got these Royal Châtenay carrots. I grew these last year. These were my best performing carrots, so I got another packet this year, and hopefully I can repeat the success I had last year with these. And if they do really well 2 years in a row, then next year I will grow a lot more of these. But I didn't really want to go all in right away until they had a little bit of consistency for me. To grow for containers and beginners because it is a wide root, a blunt tip, and it's not so down, or it's not slowed down by hard soil, which is why I think it did so well here. We have a really clay-like soil type, so root vegetables don't always do that well for us. That's why we put the raised beds in last year, and things did a lot better in the raised beds. So hopefully we can repeat that again this year. We grew corn for the first time last year. It was a pretty decent success. I did let things get a little overripe or over whatever because I had never grown corn before, and my husband was on the road. He was the only one that had experience growing corn, so he tried to kind of walk me through it over like video chat, but I let things go a little bit over, which is okay. It was a learning year, but this year I'm excited to get more. A lot of people recommended this candy corn sweet corn. Great for grilling, boiling, and savoring fresh off the cob. It elevates summer dishes with rich, sugary bursts of flavor. Direct sow 1 week after last frost. So I'm hoping that this is something else we can get in the ground pretty early and have corn kind of coming up really good. So I'm excited about this. We're gonna see how it goes. This also goes in the permaculture orchard behind the fencing to somewhat deter things like raccoons and deer and whatever else would get in to eat the corn. Not that the fence does much to keep raccoons away, but the thing I got were these Dixie Queen watermelons. I've tried growing melons every single year in the garden for about 5 years. I've never harvested one. I grew one cantaloupe, but we just don't have great success with them. So this year I'm doing kind of like a last ditch effort experiment. We're gonna plant some in containers, we're gonna plant some in the permaculture orchard, we're gonna plant some in the raised beds, we're gonna put some in the garden and really give it our best shot, our best go. And if this year we are also unsuccessful, I'm gonna stop wasting my time, my energy, and my money on melons, and I will just keep supporting my local farm stand and buying watermelons and cantaloupe and stuff from them throughout the summer. But it would be really nice to be able to grow some of my own. The very last thing I ordered were these carnations. How beautiful are these? I got a pink variety and a white variety. My childhood home that I lived in had these massive beautiful carnation bushes, and to this day I can smell carnations. It just brings me back to like the happy memories I have of my childhood, of like playing in the yard with my siblings and like running around and hiding under pine trees and smelling the carnations. These are a perennial plant. I have a couple areas in the property I'm really hoping to put some carnations in. I'm actually really hoping to put some kind of underneath this window here. That way in the spring, in the summer, in the fall, when we have these windows open, the breeze comes through and it'll just pull that carnation smell all throughout the house. I'd like to put some in the front. I'd like to put some bushes out in the permaculture orchard because these are perennials. I can just start them, plant them once, and they will come back year after year and be super beautiful. I'm unbelievably excited about these. I cannot wait. I'm hoping to be able to kind of plant them in spurts so I can have some white ones here and some pink ones here, and I am so excited about these. I think they're just beautiful. They're gorgeous. I think they're such a delicate little flower. I don't know if we're gonna get any carnations this year, probably not, but it would be really nice to get them in the ground, and they'll be like a nice surprise next spring or the spring after when things start blooming and whatnot. So a lot of times these things can be a little bit of like a waiting game. You plant them now, you don't get to enjoy them right away like some of the vegetables, but when they do come up, you're really excited about them. So I'm excited to give those a go and kind of have them pop up around the property and things. I also think they'd make a really nice gift, as well as like a Father's Day gift, a Mother's Day gift. You can start them, kind of get them in the little pot. You can keep them in your little pot, wait a year or two till they get a little bit bigger, and plant them into the ground, which I think will be really beautiful. Just like that, that is my entire seed haul for the year and the garden season of 2025. Very simple. I will pick up a couple more things from my local Amish shop, but this year I'm really hoping to use up a lot of old seeds, but just in case germination isn't super great because they are a little older, I got some new seeds, new things I want to try. So this year's garden is going to be a little bit of a hodgepodge of things, but I'm very excited because we have our traditional garden space, we have the raised beds, and this year The goal is also to get some vegetables into the permaculture orchard and use that space to its fullest potential. So I think if all things go according to plan, this year should be the most amount of plants we've ever gotten into the ground. Hopefully the most amount of plants or most amount of fruits and vegetables we're bringing in, and I'm super excited about it, trying new things this year and really just expanding and using our 3 acres to the absolute most that we can kind of provide for ourselves here. You know down below what you're growing this year, some of your go-to family favorites, and I will catch you guys in another video.